We're going to explain how to open an ICA file. ICA files, or Independent Computing Architecture files, are used to connect to remote desktops. They essentially contain all the information needed to establish a connection, such as the server address, username, and login credentials. There are a few ways to open them, depending on the operating system you are using. Using Citrix Workspace. This is the most common and recommended method. If the ICA file was provided by a company or organization using Citrix, they likely also provided you with the Citrix Workspace app. Download and install the Citrix Workspace app from the official website if you haven't already. Once installed, simply double-click the ICA file. The Citrix Workspace app should automatically launch and use the information within the ICA file to establish a connection to the remote desktop. If it doesn't open automatically, try right-clicking the file and selecting Open With, and then choosing Citrix Workspace app. 2. Using a web browser, sometimes. Some ICA files might be configured to open directly in a web browser, usually if the remote desktop is web-based. Attempting this method depends on the file and its configuration. Try right-clicking the ICA file and selecting Open With, and then trying different browsers like Chrome, Firefox, or Edge. However, this is less common than using dedicated remote desktop software. 3. Manual connection, if you know the details. If you have the server address and login credentials from the organization that provided the ICA file, you might be able to manually connect to the remote desktop without the ICA file. This usually involves using a remote desktop connection client, RDP, or a similar program built into your operating system. However, you will have to know the remote desktop's address, which might not be readily apparent just from the ICA file alone. Manually connecting is often more complex and requires technical expertise. 4. Troubleshooting. If none of the above works, there are several things to consider. Make sure you have the necessary software installed, like Citrix Workspace. Check your internet connection to ensure you have a stable connection. Also, make sure the remote desktop server is active and accessible. If you are still experiencing issues, contact your IT administrator or the organization that gave you the ICA file. They should be able to provide assistance or additional instructions. Remember, never open ICA files from unknown or untrusted sources, as they could potentially compromise your computer's security.